In their final matchup sharing the same arena, the Los Angeles Clippers blew a 20-point fourth quarter lead to the Lakers thanks to primarily an incredible fourth quarter performance from one LeBron James. Hello everybody, welcome to Oscar Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference on how this video performs in the YouTube algorithm. And this time you're obligated to like the video because it's my birthday today, so you can't not do it. It'd be a real dick move on your part, so bear that in mind. Don't do that. Outside of the Lakers-Clippers game, obviously we're going to be talking about Max Strus and the game winner that he hit against the Dallas Mavericks. What was the team again? Yes, so the fourth quarter that Max Strus had against the Mavericks. And I'm going to talk about this podcast clip that came out from Dwayne Wade's podcast, I think. Every freaking NBA player and former player has a podcast now. But he was talking with Chris Paul and some wild shit was discussed. First things first, to talk about this Clippers versus Lakers game. This game was a pretty damn good one throughout. Even when the 20-point deficit from the Clippers came along, there was just a lot of interesting, dynamic basketball happening, I guess. A really standout performance from Terrence Mann in particular for the Clippers towards the start, because he was just finding a way to be at the right place at the right time. A prime Bruce Brown type vibe with just all the backdoor cuts and like weirdly a lot of big man play out of such a small player. I hit a couple of short and mid-range jumpers in the lane as well. Kawhi Leonard had a pretty standard Kawhi Leonard game. James Harden was really good in the first half. I believe he had 18 to 20 first half points, somewhere in that ballpark. Slower second half, and in general for the Clippers that was the case. Defensively speaking, a lot of the reason why the Clippers were able to take such a big lead was not because they were necessarily all that amazing offensively, but because they were giving the Lakers hell. Going into the fourth quarter, the Lakers were on pace for like 100 points, which if you did not know is not a lot of points in the NBA anymore. It was mostly that. And then opening the fourth quarter, LeBron James was just completely awake. Not to suggest that he wasn't playing decent before that, but you know, LeBron these days, as he gets older, he kind of just fades into the background of games, and there's the less domineering, obvious LeBron James presence, but he has these moments where he turns it on. The way that Darvin Ham decided to describe it to the media was that he has this cape that he can put on, and today he decided to, quote, whip it out. So, yeah. LeBron whipped it out today. That's the main takeaway. He had 19 fourth quarter points, hit a bunch of really clutch contested three-pointers. And yeah, it was just like a 5-minute stretch of him getting bucket after bucket, and suddenly that lead completely dissipated. Apparently, this is the biggest fourth quarter comeback that LeBron has made throughout his entire career, which didn't seem correct at all to me when I heard that. Apparently it is indeed true, though. I would have thought overall this time that more than a 20-point fourth quarter comeback would have happened just by virtue of how much basketball LeBron has played. But no, this is apparently one of the clutchest performances of his entire career. I'm not going to spend too much time harping on the fact that LeBron is 1 billion years old and that it's absolutely ridiculous that he's doing this because he's 1 billion years old. But I will say all of that is true. And just because you hear it all the time doesn't make it any less true. It's pretty fucking absurd that he even has the ability to be this good in a relatively short burst, but it being as impactful as it was. Like, truly, LeBron was just like, okay, I feel like dominating this game for 5 minutes. I'm just going to do that real fast. And the fact that, you know, at the age that he's at, he's still coasting more often than not. I really do wish that we could get more opportunities to see this version of LeBron James, because he clearly has the ability to turn it on. The last couple of years, he has had to do that in very unopportune circumstances, and I think it's just something that he's become less and less capable of doing, especially regularly, like all the time being asked to do it, and that's a big issue with the Lakers in general, that they have asked LeBron to do too much at the age that he is. But when he does have these moments where he turns it on and you forget that he's 39 years old, it's pretty fucking spectacular, and it's something that just as an enjoyer of the game, you have to appreciate to some degree or another, even if you are a LeBron hater. But yeah, that's that game. Last time, I forgot to mention that, Last time that these two will be playing in the same arena, because the Clippers, of course, announced that they are, well, obviously it was known that they were going to a new arena, but they paired that with a rebrand. I think that the jerseys look excellent. The logo, I don't hate it. It's like a very 5 out of 10. It's just not that compelling. It looks like a venture capitalist fund, to be honest. Ultimately, I don't care that it's better than what it was before. They had a very generic logo before this, still a little generic now, but the jerseys look great, and the jerseys have a non-complete minimalist approach vibe to it. At the very least, like, even if it's not like an overly busy jersey, there is a lot of character within each element in it. And that's something that I very much appreciate, because it's becoming less and less prominent in NBA jerseys. And it's nice to see a team rebrand and actually make the right decision, go in the right direction, because the past couple of times, I think like the Cavaliers and the Utah Jazz are the most prominent examples to me. Just not a fan of what their new look is. And I'm glad that the Clippers got this right, and hopefully it's a sign of more positive things to come for jerseys in the NBA and branding in general. I have started to really resent Nike jerseys and modern NBA branding, and this is a turn in the right direction. But they're leaving Crypto Arena. It's Staples Center, let's be honest. But leaving that arena with a loss to the Los Angeles Lakers, no longer sharing a home anymore. It's a little sad. Anyways, let's talk about this Chris Paul to the Miami Heat thing that almost happened, apparently. I do want to say right at the gate that the logistics of the details were not specified, and I really don't know how plausible what Dwayne Wade and Chris Paul were talking about, but they were talking about it as though it was all but a guarantee that it could happen. It was just a matter of them signing off on it. I'll have Nick play the clip here. You play the clip.
But do you remember the call with Brian, you and I, when we were thinking about when Riley wanted to trade to bring you to Miami?
Absolutely.
You remember us getting on the phone?
And we was talking about me coming to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
We was talking about me coming to Miami. We was talking about who gonna have the ball in their hands, how it's gonna work.
We having a conversation.
Yep, we having a conversation. Was it CJ that said something about who gonna wear number 3?
Bro, that's what I wanted to get to. We talk about all this about who gonna have the ball. Okay, we can all play together now. CP, I can play off the ball. We done figured all that out. And then somebody said, well, who gonna wear number 3? Silence. Messed the whole trade up because CP could wear number 3 in Miami. Messed the whole trade up.
I don't know what they was gonna do.
That's my number. He's like, well, that's my number.
Yeah, what we gonna do? CP6? No, that ain't it.
The basketball number means so much that.
So you saying we didn't get a chance to see this trade because of a number 3?
Man,
that's what I'm saying.
So yeah, apparently Chris Paul did not join the Miami Heat with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, and I guess presumably Chris Bosh, but again, I'm not understanding quite the logistics here. Didn't happen because of a jersey number, which at the end of the clip, Dwayne said something along the lines of, I can handle less touches, I can handle not being the highest paid player on the team, but I'm not giving you my number. After all the sacrifices that Dwayne was specifically asked to make, I do completely understand why he stood on business on that one and just was like, yeah, you're not taking my number after all that other shit. And I think that was completely fair. Chris Paul, though, man, you don't have a ring at this point in your career, and you didn't go to the easiest ring opportunity that there ever could have been over a jersey number. I would understand if he didn't want to do it for the sake of competition. I would respect that quite a bit. But the discussion seemed to be that they were like, yeah, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, LeBron James, same team, that'll be sick. That was all happening, and then they were like, wait, what about the jersey number? I don't know. It seems a little too absurd to me that, I understand the importance that numbers hold to certain people, and I do know that number, I know there is something with the Chris Paul number that's very personal to him. I can't remember what it is. I think it's something to do with his grandfather. Either way, not to speculate on that, I don't want to. It seems a little silly to me to sacrifice what would have been multiple NBA championships for not wearing the number 3. It's weird. It's an interesting dynamic to talk about because they also briefly discussed like the idea of what Wade and Chris would look like together because, you know, between them and LeBron, those are two very ball dominant, shot creating lead ball handler type guys. Also, that has to be the greatest playmaking core in the history of basketball. Fucking Chris Paul and LeBron James are generational playmakers. Dwayne Wade is a pretty great one. Dwayne Wade being your third best playmaker in your starting lineup is pretty fucking bananas. Yeah, I don't know that it would have mattered much for the Miami Heat. Maybe that, probably because it actually probably would have mattered quite a bit just because Dwayne Wade declining in the later stages of that big three. If you had Chris Paul kind of to take on more responsibility as Dwayne got older, that could definitely work out in their favor, I think. And Chris Paul and LeBron James, what a dream situation to be a role player, right? Like, just to have two players on the floor that are always going to find you if you're wide open, two of the best playmakers the game has ever seen on the floor together, and Dwayne Wade and maybe Chris Bosh, like, probably win an extra championship because of that, and there's a good chance LeBron would have stayed in Miami longer because of that, but instead we got this alternative version of history. I've liked LeBron and Wade's career as it went, but Chris Paul's career is one that has been fairly disappointing just in that he's not been able to win a championship in spite of the fact that he's one of the most talented on-ball creators the game has ever seen. Not to mention maybe the best 6 foot or under defender the game has ever seen. But yeah, instead we got what we got, and I don't know if a jersey number was quite worth it, Christopher. Last but not least, I want to talk about briefly, just to mention it, there's not a lot to talk about other than, whoa, that happened, but Max Strus, or Max Strus, I'm sorry if I'm fucking it up, but I'm pretty sure it's Strus. He had 5 3-pointers in the fourth quarter in the final, 5 minutes of the game. Checked in, hit 4 straight 3-pointers, didn't hit a 3 again for another 2 minutes, but then off of the inbound after Luka got a dump-off pass to PJ Washington, hits a full-court shot with a perfect swish off of a pass from Evan Mobley. Technically speaking, one of the most impressive clutch performances in the history of this game, straight up. He had 150 true shooting percentage in this fourth quarter. Yeah, 15 points in 5 minutes, didn't miss a single shot, led them on the comeback because they were at a deficit when he checked into the game. It definitely wasn't quite Tracy McGrady's 13 points in however amount of time, but it was pretty fucking ridiculous and definitely up there and some of the clutchest performances the game has ever seen. And you don't often get those kind of performances out of your role players. Max actually this year, as good as he's been situationally for Cleveland, has not shot the 3 ball all that well, and he's been pretty inconsistent on the year, but he had no problem hitting them in that quarter for sure. Spoiled game for the Dallas Mavericks, who have otherwise been on a real streak lately. Probably going to talk about them more in the future because they're becoming one of the league's most interesting teams. But yeah, that is it. Shout out to Nick for editing this video, and goodbye.